What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the other side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? Unfortunately, Levon can't make it this week, but he'll be back next week. Please continue to tune in throughout the week. So on Monday, we discussed Uber and their potential breach or hack, where somebody was in there in the chats. And then on Tuesday, we discussed some new federal guidelines when it comes to the third-party attestation of software and things of that nature because of the SolarWinds hack. I think I did that one well. Description, brain not working. And then today we will discuss the cybersecurity pipeline and just what's currently going on with it, right? So this article comes from darkreading.com, which sounds nefarious, and it's not though. The article is entitled "To Ease the Cybersecurity Worker Shortage, Broaden the Candidate Pipeline." And it's written by Joshua Scott. This article actually came out on the 14th. So this is always a topic of debate, right? Like cybersecurity, we need people. There's a million vacancies. Like we need to get more people in the pipeline. And there are efforts being made. We talk about it almost every other week. We have an article about this big name company is starting a division, or they're going to open up shop in a area that has a bunch of talent when it comes to STEM, or they're looking for people of color, and they're going to open up shop in like a more trying to think of the word. What's the word I'm looking for?
Are you trying to say like-minded, or are you trying to say
no, like an area that typically doesn't have a big footprint? Like there was the one in North Carolina. Just an area that has a historical Black college or university, or has a larger population of Black and brown people, but they don't have the Cupertinos, they don't have the Atlantas.
They're not tech hubs type thing.
Right, there you go, tech hub. Thank you. I was struggling. But yeah, so they're trying to open up shop in areas that don't necessarily have a big tech footprint, to acquire the talent, and then to not have to move them, right, to very expensive areas, and then they can recruit right there where the new division or the business is being opened. So there's definitely a huge effort happening from Apple and Google and Bell South and a few other. Microsoft
there too,
yeah, they're making humongous efforts, but that takes time, right? They have to put the money in first, and then they have to develop. In this article, the author is saying, well, there's plenty of talent. They just don't necessarily have degrees in the field, right? They might have experience, or might just have the aptitude to do the job. So why are we not pulling these people in, as opposed to in the past, like they've been looking, like you said, offline. They're looking for unicorns, right? They're looking for people who have decades of experience and a master's in the field and all the above. So in the article, he states, cybersecurity hiring historically has focused on a narrow candidate pool, people with the usual academic credentials, job experience, security certifications, and specific technical skill sets. But as the demand of cybersecurity professionals keeps increasing, it is clear that the industry must get more creative in the hunt for talent. So we see it right now. We see people moving over from law. We have people who are lawyers. I've seen pilots and flight attendants, masseuses, people who are just coming straight out of high school, people who are in the middle of college, switching their majors and what have you. I see a humongous push to go cyber, because we keep talking about like there's so many vacancies. It's a hot industry, and we're paying well, but then they don't hire these people. I've talked to people who it took a year for them to find a job, in cyber, and they had a bunch of skills. They had a very diverse mindset. Um, and these are the people of color that you're looking for. But then you're like, well, I need 10 years experience, or I need 5 years experience. And I just don't get it. But what are your thoughts, Shannon?
So yeah, I mean, I had something I was going to get to, but to piggyback off what you said, because you actually brought this up before, even when you were talking about different people you were getting for like Ask Assist P, different questions you were getting and things like that about the people changing professions. And it is good to look out there, right? So like when you mentioned pilots, nurses, things of that nature, just think of, if you think about what they have to do in their jobs they currently have, they have to worry about reacting on a dime or reacting quickly in emergency situations, right? And that can be the same thing for cybersecurity, right? Like all of a sudden, whatever monitoring tool you're using, right? All of a sudden there's a breach or something like that. You have to, they're already in a career field that makes them think and turn and do something very quickly to respond in an emergency manner, So yeah, it's definitely a benefit to the cyber community to go out and look for those people. You know what I mean? But the point I was going to make, though, is the ideas that he brings up in the article, right? He says there's 4 ideas, right? So one of the ones you hit on was the drop the college degree requirement, right? So it's obsolete thinking. You're looking for unicorns, right? That was one of the first ones. The other one he said was look for talent outside of security, right? Another thing you brought up, doing that again, chasing the unicorns, it's not going to work for you, right? Because more than likely, chasing those people, like when it comes to cybersecurity is not sexy and you're not really liked, right? Take it from me, okay? It's not sexy and it's not what people really like. So like those people that you look at their resume and they have all that experience, what do you have them doing, right? Like they're programmers, they're developers, they're doing things that don't necessarily take cybersecurity as a priority, to say, right?
Right.
Like in our current thinking, right? So you lose those people to those places, right? And then they end up moving out to San Francisco, right? To work for, your Googles, your Microsofts, your Apples, you know what I mean? So um you do have to expand it, right? Like that's just what it is. If you go for people that have the decades of experience, like you mentioned, this is probably not what they're going to want to go into. They're going to want
Right.
money is and where the sexy stuff is, you know what I mean? Train like crazy is another one they mentioned in here, right? Companies should invest in formalized training programs for individuals with non-traditional security backgrounds. So train them up front, continually provide additional training opportunities, things like that. And that can be done. So like the companies probably don't want to do that because they think, well, I'm going to train them up to lose them, right? But that's not necessarily the case, right? Like the way you could do that is I know there's with several of these companies out there, right? Like if they pay for some type of training or schooling or things like that, they'll pay for it, right? But you have to stay with the company for a certain amount of time or you have to pay it back, right? So that's just one of the things they could do, right? Like I don't want to necessarily say make it hurt, but that's kind of what it is, right? It's making it hurt.
Right.
Then the last one of the 4 that they mentioned is spread the wealth, right? And so this kind of gets into we've mentioned this a time or two before, right? DevOps and DevSecOps, right? When it comes to spread the wealth, it's not just a cybersecurity team, right? Those people that are doing the development and the developmental security, of software and things of that nature. It's the same thing we've said before, baking the security in from the beginning.
Mhm.
Right. So spread the wealth to where it's the cybersecurity folks don't get it on the back end and be like, okay, well, I can help you with this, but it's probably going to break this functionality that you've already worked so hard on. Right. Put it in there from
Right.
the beginning, figure all that out going forward. So the 4 ideas that Joshua Scott, I believe was his name, right, came up with on here are pretty good ideas. I'm all for it. But yeah, no, I mean you got to expand the horizon, right? It's the same not just with cybersecurity, but in anything, right? It's the same thing of having diversity, right? You want different perspectives in the room, right? Whether it be
Yeah.
male, female, black, brown, Asian, whatever it may be. Get those different backgrounds and those different ways of thinking in there, and it'll work for everybody, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
I like this read.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always a great debate, right? Like whenever you go on Clubhouse or whatever, degrees versus non-degrees and things of that nature. I just think we're looking at it the wrong way. Like there are certain aspects of just business in general that a degree would fit a certain role or title or what have you. For somebody, if you're not trying to grow them within, you're just trying to purchase talent. I get that. But the idea that every position requires a 2 to 4 year degree, this doesn't make sense to me. So I agree with him as well. Like, just acquire these people who have an interest and have the aptitude to learn it, and then train them. And then when it comes to, like you said, retain the talent by making it hurt. I agree with that, as well as, like, if you and all of your peer companies, your rivals, whatever you want to call them, are doing the same thing, then it's just a matter of once you train them, pay them, or you'll receive a swap. Like, they have to find a job somewhere, right? So if they're not, if company X trains them and then they decide to move, they're going to come to you, company Y, and vice versa. The talent will still come to you. Is my way of thinking. Like, where would it go otherwise? Like, these people aren't going to sit there, get trained, and then never use the talents, and then go to a different industry. Most likely, right? Like, I can't see that happen unless something else booming pops up. But right now it's us, right? It's cyber. So go ahead and spend the money. And if you treat them fairly and you make it an environment they want to stay, they may not leave just off of just the environment itself, right? Like, all money isn't good money, as they would say. So I don't know. Those are just my thoughts. Because we go back and forth all the time about degrees, not degrees. So I have it, and I acquired it only because I always want to be able to check all the boxes to get to a human where I can talk to them. Then I had to interview. But I know plenty of people who have gotten into the industry without degrees, right? They just have been around doing the work for a while. But now we need to open up the floodgates a little bit more and get those people who don't have practical experience, but they do have the intelligence to pick it up, and then to start doing the job immediately. But just my 2 cents. Definitely a great discussion. Um, Hopefully we get another one of these in next week when Levon comes back, so we can fight about it. But please continue to tune in to all of the episodes. Again, Monday and Tuesday are topics, Wednesdays discussion, then Fridays we discuss everything else, everything non-cyber related, right? Movies, books, games, all that good stuff. Hit up all of our websites. They go by the podcast name. Then you can hit me up personally. I'm at RY Security Guy. That's RY Security Guy. I'm on Twitter, Clubhouse, and LinkedIn. And Levon can be found at Levon Maynard on the Twitters, as he would say. Stay safe, stay secure.